Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we have 5 ways to mitigate metagaming and a bonus tip.
Hey, jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Right, so we had a message in where someone had asked, how do I keep my players from metagaming at the gaming table?
Right, he's got his players, they're peeking around the DM screen, trying to look over to see what page he's turned to in the monster manual. And then they're using that kind of information to just enact upon it. Like, oh, well, I know this is a troll now, so I'm going to, use my flaming sphere attack, whatever.
And in turn, that Dungeon Master is being troll played. So the fact of the matter is, to some extent, players that are going to metagame are just going to metagame. But we can do we have 5 ideas. We came up with 5 ideas that might help mitigate metagaming at your gaming table. And the first one is to just keep it off the table, or keep it hidden. Essentially, right. If you have, if you just jot down notes or have some other way of accessing the information, but they don't know where you turn to in the book, or if you have a good way to hide that information, then then your players, unless they've memorized all this stuff, which some people absolutely do, but that's a way to get rid of some chance of metagaming.
Right. Now, I know back in the day, this is going back a ways, Dave used to actually, have a stack of index cards, note cards, and he would make his monster notes on those. And number one, this has the easy reference of, well, I can just pull a random encounter out back when we actually did those type of things, as well as if he doesn't care about using that note card for something, he can keep track of monster hit points, initiatives, and all that kind of stuff right there on the card. Doesn't need any books. Downside to this is it does require more prep time for your campaign, but it's a way to not have people looking at your book.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is you could take a source document, there's this stuff online that you could just copy and paste monster sets, and there you go. And certain monsters, they don't have a lot going on other than having an armor class, bag of hit points, and little abilities like goblins, right, and things like that don't have a ton going on. Now, if you get into more magical creatures or creatures with spellcasting, a little more complex. But your more basic monsters, like your orcs, your goblins, maybe even a troglodyte, less to keep track of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the next thing you can do is all right, yes, you're going to fight an orc, but you know what? I'm using an orc that's different. So you change things up. Make him stronger, make him weaker, make him have more hit points, make him have less hit points, give him a different set of armor, which increases its armor class. All of these kind of things. To an orc, it's not really that much of a big deal. It's just a straight up fight. But what if you've got a troll that somehow, to one thing or another, he's not only is fire not a problem for him, but fire, he's actually immune to it.
Or healed by it.
Yeah. So when you make these kind of changes, I wouldn't recommend you making arbitrary changes just to mess with your players. But if you have a story reason for it, in our world, we have Chaos Storms. They have the ability to make changes based on the magic of chaos. So everything's fair game at this point in time.
Yeah, that having an aberrant creature creates a story as to why that happened, so you could figure out what that is. And then also, too, you could just have a story or a lore of, maybe the way your orcs came to be, that's just described differently, and eventually your players will pick up that these are orcs. But at first, if they're new to your world, then maybe they'll have more the player character experience of having not really fought orcs before, but the way that they're described don't seem like Tolkien orcs or other orcs from RPGs that we think of. It wouldn't hurt a lot if maybe they're aquatic, so that could be a thing. And so they come, or maybe they're described different. Maybe you describe them, they're crocodilian in just the way they look. So maybe Killer Croc from Batman, if you think about that. You just described it differently, but your players don't know what the F you're doing for the first little while at least. So you catch them off guard.
And that actually kind of, leapfrogs into number 3, and that's reskin it. Okay, you want to make them fight crocodile type people, but you don't want to have them use the lizard folk, you want to use the stats for orcs or veterans or whatever have you. If you describe something that they've never seen before, the players aren't going to know how to react. And, they might not be paying attention to what's in your book because it doesn't recognize anything that you've used before that's in the book, so they're going to be thrown for a loop.
Yeah. So if they knew the books verbatim and you describe something that's not verbatimly in the books, then they have no point of reference. So that's a way to go with that.
I used a shambling mountain once, in a swamp, exactly where they were. But I described it as some other kind of tentacled monstrosity, and they didn't know what to do. They fought it, they killed it, but they weren't like, oh, well, I need to use this and I need to not use that. So, all right, great. I'm a huge fan of reskinning monsters. I actually do more reskinning than I do using a monster straight out as it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the classic shambling tentacles coming at you that gets you in the end. You never suspect it. And then number 4 is actually using, say, good third-party stuff or maybe new resources that your players as of yet haven't experienced. So you might have to go around looking for things, through the DM's Guild or a little bit of self-promotion for our end. Like, we create stuff for Patreon, yes. And it's unique stuff that's not in any of the standard books. And then when you describe a Boozoos happening, well, the Boozoos doesn't exist anywhere but the Nerdarchy Patreon content.
Right.
So that's a way to do it as well, is just finding good third-party stuff.
I agree. And beyond that, you can also create your own stuff. If you feel that this monster and this monster combined together would be a really cool and unique encounter, you can go ahead and create that. Make sure you're making it an appropriate challenge for the party, or if you're trying to scare the hell out of them, make them run, make it more powerful. And then this way, the players aren't going to have the ability to reference a book or know what you're talking about, or even look on the page that you're looking at because you're really looking at multiple pages, or you're just trying to throw them off because you've got the stats in your head or wherever you've got them. So the last and foremost, spot in this how to prevent players from metagaming is to actually give them something that the combat isn't the actual end goal of the encounter. If you can have them where it's okay, it's a puzzle or it's something else.
It's a negotiation, something where beating the monster, it's well and good that the weaknesses and other advantages that the monster might have in the fight, but you're not actually going to fight this monster, so it doesn't matter.
So it's okay, all right, the white dragon is immune to cold damage. Well, who gives a crap when you're there to talk to them?
Right, exactly. And wait, but I have a sneaky bonus tip. What if also you open your monster manual? So this is the Decoy Method. Open it to a more menacing monster than the one you're actually using. It's close enough to the thing you're using, but you have a big horrific monster they're going to fight, but you happen to have it open to the Tarrasque. So anybody that's peeking there is going to see that, but it's just a big, large beast that might be devastating, but it's no Tarrasque.
So yeah, the Decoy Method is always fun.
That's like metagaming the metagame, really.
It really is. It's hopefully terrifying them enough to have them not want to do that anymore. So what do you guys out there think? What do you do to prevent your players from metagaming? There's a great spot to talk about that, and that's down in the comments section. So while you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can follow us over on Facebook.
So until next time, stay nerdy.